All-Star game. I want to see which star can step up and make his team win.
Dumps it off for Towns.
These are going to be very good college players.
No question about it.
Aubrey Ingram, the two-handed finish.
And Simmons goes coast to coast.
These are players we're going to be seeing for a long time to come.
Here's Wiggins.
Oubre hauls up a three.
This is what the NBA looks at.
Welcome to Portland, Oregon, and welcome to the 19th Nike Hoop Summit. We're here at the Moda Center, the home of the NBA's Trailblazers. It's the USA Junior National Select Team against the World Select Team, the best players 19 and under from around the world. A very pleasant good afternoon to you, Mike Cousins, Fran Fraschilla, and Paul Biancardi. World team in this game has won 3 out of the last 4. So, Paul, what are you going to be watching for today?
Well, this is a game about a group of all-stars who take winning seriously. And for me, I'm looking, Fran, for the guys who are going to make the winning play versus the highlight play.
Well, and this USA team has winners. 4 guys were part of the World Championship Under-19 team last year, but they're going to have to deal with DeAndre Ayton, the Bahamian, 7 feet tall. Remember we talked about Buddy Hield from the Bahamas? This may be the next great one. Mobile power forward type at 7 feet tall.
And for Team USA, keep an eye on Jason Tatum, the number 2 player in the senior class. He's the most complete offensive player in the class, the master of the mid-range game. I love how he plays with pace, and he's part of a monster recruiting class headed to Duke.
Our starting lineups brought to you by Nike. It's USF-bound Andres Feliz with Aiden Adich in the backcourt, Justin Jackson, China's Ziming Fan, and the aforementioned DeAndre Ayton along the front line for the World Squad. On the United States side, De'Aaron Fox with Terrence Ferguson, Jason Tatum headed to Duke, Wenyen Gabriel on his way to Kentucky, and Texas's Jarrett Allen is the center yet to make his college choice. At center circle, it's DeAndre Ayton in the black and Jarrett Allen in the white, and the USA team opens up with possession.
And these teams have been together since early in the week, so there's been a lot of practice time.
The world team just doesn't have that superstar, Fran, that it's had in the past. Ayton just a junior in the high school game. A lot for a young man.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, the best international players in this year's draft, they're playing in Europe right now. But this is a good group. A lot of them you'll see in college next year. Including this young man with the ball. Feliz will head to South Florida.
Part of a nice recruiting class next year for Orlando Antigua. That ball poked away by Jarrett Allen. Tatum going to Duke next year, number 2 recruiting class in the country. Too much on his first try. Allen to the deck to try and grab it, and the World Select team back the other way.
Well, that's going to be off Jackson. He lost that ball.
Head coach of the World Select team is Roy Rana, head coach at Ryerson University in Toronto. Also the head coach for the Canadian Junior National Team.
And Roy took a sabbatical this year, got a chance to travel around both Canada and the United States, watch many of his friends who are coaching.
3-point try from the wing. Ferguson no good. And it's out of bounds, 14 on the shot clock. LJ Goolsby is the head coach for the USA Junior National Select Team, assisted by Eric Flannery, the head coach at St. Edward High School outside Cleveland.
It's a power staff.
Yeah.
Goolsby and Flannery.
Put back is good, and it's the USA team up 2-0.
You see the speed of De'Aaron Fox, 5 in the white, headed to Kentucky. Good defender, excellent point guard. He'll run the show for John Calipari next year.
Adich's pass intercepted. Jason Tatum going to the bucket. Goes right through the bump and scores.
We talk so much about Tatum and his offensive game. He's 6'8", smooth, fluid.
Guys, remember Ron Mercer that played at Kentucky? That's who he reminds me of. You talk about that fluidness.
Not a great athlete, but a good athlete.
Ziming Fan and a jump ball. Possession stays with the world team.
Well, Tatum just hits the passing lane with that wingspan, the push straight to the basket. Takes that little bump. I love the way Tatum plays with pace. He's terrific inside the arc, and he's improving from the three-point line.
It seems like he was ticketed to Duke from, nearly the beginning of his recruitment.
He was the first one to commit to Duke. He did it at the Peach Jam, and he led that class with Harry Giles and Frank Jackson, Javin DeLaurier.
You know what you love about that play? Second time in a row, Tatum enjoys creating contact. He was not going to shy away from it. He went right at the defender.
Tatum's got his parents here as well. His dad, Justin, his mom, Brandy, in town to visit. Quite a season he had at Chaminade in St. Louis. In the playoffs, had to go against his dad's team to keep moving on in the state playoffs.
And he had to drop 40 on him to get there, and he did so. But you mentioned his mom, Brandy, here, and his grandmother. They have not missed a game from high school on, including USA basketball, the summer circuit, and all the high school games. It's a well-traveled family.
Well, you know,
except for one.
Which one?
Which was a flight delay
Yes.
in France.
There's
on
an
their way to
asterisk with
Greece.
that one. They've done everyone.
And you know what? To Paul's point, she did watch it on her little telephone.
Right. So
First game of the USA.
she's hooked up in the Charles de Gaulle airport with a Tatum jersey on, and she's yelling at the iPad or whatever it is. She said, "I don't care. I'm never going to see these people again. I don't have to worry about me yelling at it."
Is that a plug for the Watch ESPN app?
I think so.
Good plug.
I like it.
Nicely done, Paul Biancardi. Feliz can't finish at the rim.
Oh, he's
On the
got him
breakout.
again.
Fox ahead for Tatum, steps through with the right hand, and he's back to the strike.
Fran, you talked about him not being afraid to take contact. He also understands how to create space in the open floor. You want to call it a Euro step?
Yeah, it was.
He makes a side step, creates space, covers ground, and in the half court against a set defense, Jason Tatum understands how to create space and get a shot. You can run him off screens. You can put the ball in his hands.
It's going to be a very interesting team next year at Duke because they've got a lot of guys that can put the ball in the basket.
And with Tatum, you can play him at the small forward and be big, or you can play him at the 4 spot and play small ball.
This young man, Feliz, at the World Championships. Look at that. That's another steal by the General. Oh!
Right to the rim with the left hand.
This guy loves to play defense, folks.
Oh, man. John Calipari calls him the General because guys want to go to war with him. Take a look. Already causing havoc on the defensive end. Out of Houston, De'Aaron Fox. That's right. John Wall, Brandon Knight, host of others. Here's the next one, BBN.
$7:19 left here in the first quarter at the Nike Hoop Summit, and the USA Junior National Select Team on a 10-0 run. De'Aaron Fox has been pushing the pace so far. Signed to Kentucky next season. He's number 7 in the ESPN 100, part of the #1 class for 2016.
When you take a look at this class, it has everything. Elite athletes, length, size, scoring ability from the point guard spot, the shooting guard spot with Monk, and Bam Adebayo at the power forward. They're still in the hunt for Marquise Bolden, top 20 player in the class. I think you're going to see John Calipari next year, Fran, really extend the defense and win the game on the glass.
And
as he likes to coach defense and rebounding, this freshman unit will help him do that.
You add Marquise Bolden to that group. I know he's considering Kentucky, Duke, TCU. That really is I've been impressed with Bolden as much as any player in this game. There you see Marquise Bolden, who played at DeSoto High School in Dallas for Chris Dyer, an outstanding program. They won the state title again this year. Of course, they're also the home of Matt Jones, who plays for Coach K at Duke.
And Duke is his other school.
Yeah.
Getting a first look at future SMU Mustang Harry Froling. He's rejected, and Fox runs away with it. 12-0.
Straight line speed for De'Aaron Fox. I said it all year, Fran. He's not John Wall, but he has John Wall type speed.
Yeah. Well, and he's wearing out Feliz right now, the youngster from the Dominican Republic. Take a look at the block right there.
Jared Allen,
Yep.
13 in the white with a 7-foot, 5-inch wingspan, and Fox right to the cup.
You know, I'm going to be a little Texas-centric since I live in Dallas. You got 4 Texas guys on this USA roster, I should say.
Allen left block, right over Froling.
Nice pass by Wenyen Gabriel. Jared Allen is as skilled as any post in the class. still unsigned. Looking at Texas, looking at Houston, looking at Kentucky, Kansas, and Notre Dame.
Martinez Varnas driving there, and a foul called against the United States.
You got a couple Aussies out there. You mentioned Froling. Jack McDowell-White, who still is undecided. He's made a couple visits.
He's made 3 visits.
Yeah.
He's made it to Fresno State, Texas A&M, and Arizona State. And he's talking about making 2 more visits for Michigan State
In Indiana.
and Indiana.
Yeah, I know Tom Crean, very high on this young man. And, you know, I don't. Has the world got a shot up on the rim yet?
It looks like everything has either been rejected, turned
stolen,
over, or a
yeah.
shot clock violation.
Well, they have had so many great players playing for the world the last few years. We watched them practice this week. This is not a vintage world team. As you see, they're going to go to the zone right now.
And Roy Rana told us before the game, Fred, we got to keep Team USA off balance.
Well,
And we just can't straight up man, and we can't stay in the zone.
right now they've got to get some shots up.
3-2 zone with DeAndre Ayton, Harry Froling on the inside. Forces a miss from Jason Tatum. Francis Isaiah Cordonier along the baseline. Poked away, and it stays with the world team. 17 left on a 24-second shot clock.
Yeah, other than DeAndre Ayton, Cordonier has been the guy that's impressed me the most this week for the world team. A 6'5" guard. He's declared for the draft. He's a young player. He reminds me of a Austin Rivers type player. He played both 1 and 2.
Varnas out of Lithuania.
Rivers played in this game in 2-11. He was one of the few USA guys who made some threes. Made 3 threes in that game.
Wenyen Gabriel in a struggle for the ball. Foul called on the floor as Froling was scrapping for it as well.
We talked about Kentucky, Paul. You tell me, Wenyen Gabriel last summer, maybe one of the highest risers from the start to the finish.
He came in at the 80s, went to the 20s, now he's bumped up to the teens. He's length, he's motor. He's an excellent defender with developing skills.
And he became a U.S. citizen last summer. The young man from the Sudan has moved here when he was 3 years old. That's a great story.
And now a line change for L.J. Goolsby and the USA Junior National Select Team. Frank Jackson, Marquise Bolden, Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, and Josh Jackson all on the floor.
This is as good a team, or better than the one that just left the court.
Ayton's got the rebound for the world squad. On the floor right now, you've got Washington, Duke, Florida State, and a couple of undeclared players as well.
Great hedge by Bowden.
Cordonier shut down by Frank Jackson, fires up an air ball, 2 on the shot clock. Ayton doesn't see it, and it's another shot clock violation. Good defense. This world squad really struggling with the length of the USA team. A 14-0 lead here at the 19th Nike Hoop Summit in beautiful Portland.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the Nike Hoop Summit is brought to you by Nike. Join the free revolution at nike.com/free.
I think I saw Paul Biancardi doing a half marathon this morning along the Willamette River right here in Portland. We welcome you back, Mike Cousins, Fran Fraschilla, and Paul Biancardi to the Nike Hoop Summit. Look at the #1 overall NBA draft picks that have come out of this game. The list is long. 178 former U.S. and world players have been drafted, including 13 in last year's draft. And we've got some players here today who could potentially be future #1 picks.
Absolutely. Harry Giles, who missed the season but has been a huge part of the USA basketball program. He'll head to Duke in the fall. Obviously, Jason Tatum, we've seen some of his highlights early, and Josh Jackson, 3 really, really good players. And 3 guys, Paul, along with Terrence Ferguson, who are 3-time gold medalists for USA, 19-0 coming into this game.
A lot of USA basketball experience with this team, a lot of talent, great athletes. Fran, this is the best class that I've seen doing ESPN rankings since 2008.
Well, when you talk about, Mike, 3 potential three players who could be the #1 pick. And there may be a couple other guys on this USA team that can sneak into that conversation.
There's also a guy not in this game by the name of Bam Adebayo, who, if he plays well at Kentucky, and there's no reason he shouldn't, he's a guy who could, if he averages 30 minutes a game, should get a double-double. The best rebounder in the class, outstanding motor, terrific hands.
Well, I love this young man, Jonathan Isaac, that's heading to Florida State. I think he's got enormous NBA potential.
He's got upside written on his forehead, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonathan Isaac and Josh Jackson, I think, have the greatest upside of all these guys. There's still so much room to grow for Isaac and Jackson.
I think my favorite player for USA, Josh Jackson warms my heart because there's never a moment he doesn't play with great intensity. He's got that Kevin Garnett type of killer instinct.
It's another shot clock
man.
violation. It was a new threat in the post there that time as well. You saw 15 in the black jersey, Udoka Azubuike, who's verbally committed to Kansas, didn't get a touch in the post.
It's an interesting young man because he's only 17 years old and he's going to play at least 2 seasons for Bill Self no matter what happens his freshman year.
And Azubuike will be getting touches at Kansas in the low post. I mean, he is
In
terrific.
2 game.
In the 2 game,
In the
the
2 game.
high-low. I mean, Fran, naturally he understands how to sail his man. He's
Yep.
thick, he's wide, he's got girth.
This is amazing. Is that 7 now turnovers?
You got-
Unbelievable.
And you know what?
Where's
gotta-
Tony Parker?
You really got to credit Team USA. I
Yeah.
mean, they have length and athleticism, but they are defending. They're shrinking the floor. They're moving on the airtime of the pass.
Sounds like a Rick Majerus line. Moving on the airtime of the pass.
It's still ingrained.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you
That
what.
means they're moving.
They're moving.
Yeah.
And they're really focused in and dialed into this game. After losing the last 3 out of 4.
Yeah, well, there's been some great players. 33 international players in this game are now in the league. This is off to a slow start for them.
From the wing, Isaac clears everything. That's a good head-to-head heavyweight battle right there. Marquise Bolden going against Udoka Azubuike.
Azubuike reminds me of like a Daryl Dawkins type. Just ferocious at the rim, wants to dunk everything.
And he's light on his feet, too.
Frank Jackson from 3.
He's got to trim down a little bit. He's a little bit fleshy right now, and he'll do that when he gets to Kansas in June.
Off the
There it is.
backboard, and Azubuike rises back up with it.
Yep. Good hands.
Great hands.
And
wide shoulders.
Yeah, lot to learn, but
A lot to work with.
exactly.
Jackson goes backboard. Isaac soars for the rebound. Ball to the World Select team. So they're down by 14 in the first quarter. And there are 2 players who were originally on their roster not here this afternoon. Thon Maker, the former #1 player in the junior class, who's playing his high school ball in Canada, has declared for the NBA draft. And so he's taking his time to prepare for that. Markelle Fultz going to Washington next year on the breakaway. And the other player not here for the World Select team, Lauri Markkanen, the native of Finland, who's going to Arizona next year, has been sick for the last few weeks, didn't feel like he'd be up for playing in this game.
Well, Arizona fans are going to love that young man because he can play inside and out. He'd be one of the best players in this game.
They also have Raleigh Alkins coming in and Kobe Simmons.
Yeah.
2 top 20 players, 2 perimeter guys with strength and athletic ability.
And they may get
Big guards coming to Sean Miller.
Yeah, they may get Terrence Ferguson before it's over.
And they're still in the mix for Josh Jackson.
Fultz spins in the lane.
I want to tell you something. You remember this? This kid could be the Pac-12 Player of the Year. He's no longer underrated. Paul's got him number 10 now, right?
Number 10 in the senior class.
I like that you follow the rankings, Fran.
Oh, yeah,
That's
no.
impressive to our staff.
But I remember that he played JV basketball as a sophomore at DeMatha.
You said you talked about Player of the Year.
Yep.
As a sophomore, he was cut from the varsity at DeMatha. Junior, he comes back. He starts varsity. Here he goes from the corner. And he becomes the Player of the Year in the WCAC, one of the best high school
Absolutely.
conferences in the nation.
If not the best.
A lot of guys would have transferred, would have been frustrated. Fultz went in the gym.
You know, when I
spent
talked
some time.
Yeah, when I talked to Markelle yesterday, I said, take a look as he's in action here. I said, were you mad when you got cut as a sophomore? He said, yeah, I was mad, but I went back to work I showed my coach, Mike Brown, that I was ready to go. And Mike Jones, excuse me.
May play for Mike Brown someday.
Yeah, he may play for Mike Brown. Mike Brown's here today, but Mike Jones, an outstanding coach at the Matha, and we had a chance to coach him at the Under Armour Steph Curry camp. Steph loved him. 6'4".
The NBA scouts that I've spoke with this week, you know, his name comes up with Frank Jackson, Josh Jackson. They love this class.
Yep.
But Markelle Fultz has impressed.
Foul was on the United States, Frank Jackson, which puts Cordinier, a native of France, at the line. Plays at their Pro B level, the second tier of French professional basketball.
Yeah, it's a good level. It's not the Pro A, but it's like mid-major guys that are older at that level of talent.
So is it the Missouri Valley of French professional
Something
basketball?
like that. That's a good way to put it.
Horizon League, maybe.
But 25 and 30-year-old guys.
Right. They're on the 7-year college plan.
Something like that. And this young man is playing very well at that level right now.
There are people who go to college for 7 years. We just call them doctors. Azubike picks up the personal foul for the World Select Team. He has their only 2 points. We mentioned right off the top, the United States has lost 3 out of the last 4 while an 18-point advantage 9 minutes in. Florida State bound Jonathan Isaac just off there inside of 1 minute here in the first quarter. Moji Silva, the guard out of Brazil, 19-year-old with a step back, had the mismatch with Bolden, and that leads to the foul on the senior from Dallas.
Been watching Moji Silva a couple of years. He played for Brazil's under-18 team in Colorado Springs a couple summers ago.
First free throw is good for Silva. Tonight after the Warriors, don't miss SportsCenter at night with Chris Hassel and Kevin Connors on ESPN. They'll have highlights from Augusta, the rest of the NBA, MLB, the NHL, the NCAA Hockey Championship, and updates from Pacquiao Bradley 3. SportsCenter at night coming up after Warriors Grizzlies on ESPN.
Yeah, they're pumped in Hamden, Connecticut today, right? Quinnipiac is going up against North Dakota.
That's a big one.
Yeah. The Braves, I think. I could be wrong.
I want to say the Bobcats.
The Bobcats, okay. That's what it is. It is the Bobcats.
They'll be down in Tampa where it's always beautiful weather. It's been Tampa-like weather here the last couple days, up to 88
Can't call timeout, big fella.
Part of the international rules, 2 on the shot clock. The floater down the lane touches iron for Jackson, out of bounds off the world squad.
In international basketball, if the ball is live, players can't call timeout, and the young fella, Marquise Bolden, getting a lesson in FIBA ball. Of course, Josh Jackson and Terrence Ferguson and the guys that have played FIBA for USA know that rule.
Shot clock and the quarter just about equivalent. And Jackson steps on the sidelines right in front of the world bench. And it goes back to the World Select squad, trying to close a 15-point margin before the quarter ends. Silva's got a step on it here, a high screen from Ayton.
Nice.
And a baseline feed gets them the basket as the first quarter comes to a close. Aiden Adic, the native of Bosnia, gets the bucket. Well, a slow start for the world team, but they get the last say at the end of quarter number 1. USA Junior National Select Team, Jason Tatum, off and running here in Portland at the Nike Hoop Summit. Not far away, beautiful skiing despite what you see here in Portland. The USA team up 20-7. Paul Biancardi with the top senior, Harry Giles.
Thanks, Mike. Harry, last November, minutes into your first game in your senior year, you tore your right ACL. What's the status of that knee right now?
Knee's getting stronger. You know, I've been doing rehab 3 times a week and just trying to get prepared for next season.
What have you learned about yourself being away from the game all this time?
I learned my love for the games because, every day I miss it. Every day I think about it. Even right now watching the game, it's tough, but, I just use my teammates. I see them happy out there. It just makes me happy. So seeing them having fun, it just brings the joy in me. I just got to keep motivating them to go ahead and play hard.
In 2013, you tore your left ACL, so now you've had 2 ACL tears. What's got you through this process?
Really my family, my friends, my supporting cast. The fans, people tweeting me, telling me to stay up. Even the people that's telling me, you're not going to be good, you're going to tear it again. I love it. It motivates me, it drives me to just, every time I go work out, I think about all the negative things I was told, all the negative things people say about me, and I just, just go to work with it.
What do you see from your team in this game?
Domination. I love it. That was our goal, to go ahead and play hard. It's our second to last event in our senior year, so Coach said, go ahead and play hard, but at the same time, enjoy the memories because, it's about time. It's time for us to go to college. So,
thank you. All the best.
Well, that's Harry Giles, #1 player in the ESPN 100. Fran, I don't know about you, but anyone who's ever tweeted you're not any good at Harry Giles should probably delete their Twitter.
I know it. They don't know basketball. When he was healthy, and he's going to be healthy, he reminded me of Danny Manning, who was such a great player at Kansas, and a young man that also came from the same area in North Carolina, and I think he's going to have just an outstanding freshman year under Coach K when he gets to Durham.
That was part of his consideration, too, was Wake Forest, being a guy from North Carolina.
Right.
And was enrolled at Oak Hill, which just won the Dix Nationals Championship last week in New York City. And as Paul mentioned, suffered that injury just 1:59 into his first game. So Giles went to go take online classes, stay in North Carolina, and do his rehab at Duke. And in the process, get a lot more familiar with the people around the campus.
Well, I think he'll make a seamless transition to the college level.
Josh Langford on to Michigan State next year, off on the 3, and Feliz brings it up for the World Squad.
We mentioned earlier, this young man in the World Championships was the leading scorer last summer in Greece for the Dominican Republic. Good high-low.
And for that Dominican Republic team, played for Oliver Antigua, Orlando's brother, and also South Florida assistant.
Get used to this, big guy, because you're going to catch that high-low pass quite a bit at Kansas. Young man we talked about, he's got the size and athleticism. Still improving in the low post, a little raw offensively. But look at that, 16 years old.
Azubike ended up picking Kansas over Florida State and North Carolina.
You remember a couple years ago, Kansas signed a 16-year-old out of this game, Svi Mikhailuk, who's now a sophomore, and he won't turn 19 until June 6th. Played 2 years at Kansas as a 17 and 18-year-old.
He was tearing it up, shooting three-pointers.
He was.
You mentioned the strength of this roster over the last few years. Last year, you had Ben Simmons, Von Maker, Sheck Diallo. Jamal Murray was the star for the world team last year.
What a year he had for Kentucky.
And after he had that 30-point performance, the phone was blowing up. It was Duke, it was Kentucky, it was Kansas, Arizona, all asking him if he was thinking about reclassifying anything.
And then he went on after he committed to Kentucky last June. Was unbelievable in the Pan Am games. He was the second youngest player in the tournament behind the young man Andres Feliz, who's out on the court right now. Remember how good Murray was last year in this game?
He was outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a go-to guy, and he became the go-to guy at Kentucky. John Calipari, I thought, did a great job as the season went on to feature him, showcase him, get him shots, so he didn't have to take bad shots.
And he learned how to play off the ball at Kentucky. Is something he hadn't done much in his career.
And he got to play with the Bob Cousy Award winner, Tyler Ulis.
Tatum with the push-off. Easy offensive foul to call there.
Yeah, you can't do this, Jason. Let's watch the left arm right here. A little discard. See the pressure defense right there. Easy call.
He's just got to get a little lower. When you're straight up, you tend to push off.
There he's got the momentum. And lost it back to the World Select team. They've trimmed it to a 10-point game after a very slow start.
talking to Harry Giles after the interview, he said that Coach Goolsby talked about, let's not settle for bad shots. Let's not take our foot off the gas pedal. This is a very good team, the world team. There's a shot clock at 24 seconds, and there's a three-point line, fellas. Don't let them back in the game.
Yeah, and I love how hard they play. Watch out, this could be good. It sure is.
Pure for Terrence
Oh,
Ferguson,
man.
number 13 in the senior class.
You know, when I talked to Sean Miller during the summer, he was a starter on the under-19 team as a 17-year-old last summer. As good a shooter he is, and Paul, he may be as good a shooter as there is in his class.
Yes.
They love his defense for
They
Team
do.
USA.
They do. They called him a terrific two-way player. Going into that, he had the reputation as a outstanding shooter. Not a pure shooter in this class, Fran. He's the closest thing.
Yeah.
Ferguson originally chose Alabama, but decommitted back in March. That recruitment process continues.
Look at this. Look at this.
Another one, and
Man.
neither one of them touched the rim.
That's a 3-and-D guy right there, guys. Give him. Oh, look at this. This guy's making us look good, Paul.
Nearly had three straight. Fox, the offensive rebound. Tatum, the putback, no.
Tatum's got to shot fake it when he's that deep, and Ferguson just got to keep touching it.
Native Lithuanian, Adic, or rather Bosnian, beg your pardon, lost it along the baseline.
Watch this stroke now. This young man that won the Under Armour Elite 24 three-point contest. Remember, he was shooting balls in the sun.
Nice kick by Fox.
Yep, good
He's a
kick.
pogo stick with a three-point shot. He goes straight up, Fran, comes straight down. He's got great balance, high release point. He's a fun kid to be around.
Yeah, he is. You know, he's a Dallas kid. I've watched him since he was about 15, and really pleasant, great attitude. And he's eligible. He's got the 3-time gold medals. He can play in the under-18 FIBA Americas this summer, and he can actually play in the under-19s again next summer. And he's already got one of those gold medals.
When you said he was eligible, I thought you meant to be recruited because he's open again after his decommitment from Alabama. He's got Baylor on his mind.
Nice pass.
Talking about North Carolina visiting, possibly NC State. He just went to Arizona. Kansas in the mix.
The usual.
He can open a post game. I mean, you put him on a wing with a legit post player, and he opens the floor.
Yeah, the first time I remember seeing him play was with Emmanuel Mudiay at Prime Prep.
Rolling back on the floor. The big man out of Australia, who's 17 years old, verbally committed to SMU. Mustangs have signed 2 players, Deshaun McDowell, and as he says, his good mate, Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson, yeah. Saw Tom play for Australia.
Allen goes behind the back, shovels out a Ferguson 3, and he's got it again.
I'm telling you. You know, it's early. He's got a lot of college left, but NBA scouts love the stroke, and they love the fact that he's a good defender.
Zeming Fan, a pump fake, swatted by Allen. Tatum going 1-on-3.
So Jared Allen gets an assist and a
Look at
block.
this. Look at this.
Oh, it's out of
Man.
control for Terrence Ferguson.
Oh, my goodness. And the beauty of it is he gives you the defense.
Going to the same spot every time down the floor. The U.S. back in front by 20.
Great
challenge.
contest, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
how about that?
We're still thinking alike.
I know it.
That's scary.
Rick Majerus would have loved that contest. Come on.
Ferguson.
Come on.
Putting change in the video machine, and the numbers are going up.
Oh, man.
Shots are going in.
Oh, this is fun.
Rolling down the lane.
There you go.
Avoids the
big fella.
contact.
Yep.
And
Nice
goes
play
the
by the
window.
big fella. You know what? Not the most athletic guy in the game,
Oh,
but I love his effectiveness.
Yes.
His jump shot is beautiful.
he's going to get a lot done for Larry Brown. Trust me.
And they have a guy coming in the top 100, Fran, Bruno Fernando.
Yep.
A rebounder monster inside.
From Angola.
Yes.
Oh, this is ridiculous. But this is not new. I've been watching this kid since his freshman. Where's he ranked? Where do you got him ranked?
You should know that, Frank. Come
Ferguson
on.
is number 13.
13.
Move him up, man. Come on, move
You
him up.
don't, not on one performance.
Come on
Don't
now.
be one of
Oh,
those
no,
guys.
I've been watching him. Are you kidding? Come on, Carl Towns was
Hey,
9.
there's other guys out here.
You had Carl Towns 9. Come on
That's
now.
right. We did, because at that time, that's what he was. He played himself to number one when
Until he
went
got
to-
here at the Hoop Summit.
Hey,
and he
Fran,
dominated.
you play yourself up, you play yourself down.
Well, sometimes maybe you could, not be right on target, right? Well, I mean, I screwed up recruiting.
There's some other good guys in this class now.
I understand.
You want me to put him in front of Fultz? Frank Jackson?
Oh.
Just give me the word, Frank. Just give me the word, Frank.
I'll tell you what. I like him. I like him. I like him. I know this. He's doing some stuff out here tonight. It's wowing NBA people.
Yeah, the NBA really had. Uh-oh.
No.
Uh-oh.
Oh! That was contested. I think
That was
McDowell-
NBA.
I
That
think
was an
McDowell
NBA
White blocked
break.
it.
That was
Yeah,
NBA range.
put him up there. 13. Move him up a couple spots.
Oh, you're such a fan. You're such a fan.
No, I've been watching this. Terrence Ferguson. He did it this summer for USA. This is why Sean Miller loved this kid. And it's not just the stroke. How many we got here? That's one. That's two.
Give his teammates some credit for finding the hot hand.
But you gotta put it in the hoop, Paul. Oh man. Hey, give us one more. Come on, give us one more.
Terrence Ferguson's doing better than Steph Curry right now. He averages 5 threes a game, and he's on pace for about 400 this year. Ferguson 6 of 9 from 3.
Yep, amazing. I remember last summer at the Under Armour Elite 24, outdoors, he won. Watch him now, the sun's in his eyes. He's still knocking shots down. But the most impressive thing to me, I remember Sean Miller telling me last summer that they had a very young team, the under 19 team. They went to overtime with a really good team in Croatia, and he said the most indispensable guy on both ends of the floor for that team was this guy.
And I talked to Archie Miller, Sean's brother, talked about Terrence's IQ for the game,
Yeah.
Fran, how he picked up concepts defensively quickly. They have a couple of weeks of practice, but you got to pick it up on the fly, and
Yes.
Ferguson could pick up the switching concepts, the ball screen defense.
Yeah,
Boy, can he drain it.
Yeah. He's catching his breath right now.
Maybe in disbelief at his own performance and how good it's been so far, helping the U.S. after a 22-point lead. Jackson goes right down the lane, too much, and Josh Jackson doesn't put it home.
Both of those Jacksons were the co-MVPs the McDonald's All-American game. And Frank Jackson, talk about a guy who's really improved. Pure combo guard, 14 in the white, headed to Duke. I mean, he reads the game so well. He can make threes. Tremendous in pick and roll offense. And he's strong. He's 208 pounds. He's 6'3". He's got excellent positional size as a point guard for Duke.
And well coached at Lone Peak for 2 years by Quincy Lewis, who's now moved on to BYU staff. That's a great program, isn't it?
Powerhouse
Lone Peak, yeah.
program. We were out there earlier this year for a game against the team from New Jersey, led by Tyus Battle. The most raucous high school atmosphere we've seen in the last few years.
Better than a lot of colleges.
Yeah. And
The
remember,
fans were great.
he committed to BYU early, the same place that produced TJ Hawes and Eric Mika.
A lot of contact there, and the foul is called on the drive by Cordonier. I was sitting with Al, Josh's father, Frank's father, beg your pardon, the other day. He said Frank is ready to get to school early. He's going down there in May before his high school graduation. Going to fly back to graduate, but at this point, he's ready to move on to college. Dad says, I'm ready to stop giving him gas money. We're happy that he's going to Duke.
He'll be able to buy his dad a car in a few years.
If everything goes well.
It will go well.
Yep.
His story about BYU, Fran, he really wanted to go to BYU. He went to the Chris Paul camp over the summer, played well against guys that were going to Power 5 schools. And he thought about maybe he should, look at some of those schools, so he reopened his recruiting, and Duke jumped right in.
Yeah, and I think he committed as a sophomore, right?
Yeah, he committed early, committed young, but that's where he wanted to go. But when you start to play against the best and do well, sometimes it changes your recruiting mindset.
There you see Frank Jackson.
And his dad, Al.
Al Jackson.
They
yeah.
brought the whole family out here. They've moved around quite a bit.
Yes.
He was an aerospace lobbyist, so they lived in Washington, D.C. for some time, and then out to Washington State, where Boeing is, and then to Utah. And now after Frank goes to school, they're moving back to the East Coast. he's going to retire from his job as a state senator in Utah.
I met them last June in Treviso, Italy. The Adidas All-Star team came out, the high school players, Bam Adebayo, Kobe Simmons, and first real look I got at Frank Jackson, and really impressive. It's going to be interesting because he's not a point guard. He's more of a scoring lead guard, I guess is how you put it, right?
I'd see him as a pure combo guard today, but he reads the game so well, Fran, and he can hit you off a screen, and he can create off the bounce and find open guys. He'll be a point guard. He'll be the starting point guard at Duke, in my mind. And his future position is that a point guard.
Yeah, and in the NBA, there really aren't that many point guards. Every lead guard scores points.
He's a points guard.
Yeah, you go right down the list, and you have to score from that position in the league.
But he reads the game, and that's what I love about him. When we talk about willing passers, Frank Jackson will hit you in a minute if you're open.
Josh Jackson in charge with the foul. And a sizable advantage for the USA squad. Packed with the college talent of tomorrow. Just some of the stars that have come through this Nike Hoop Summit. A lot of #1 picks going on to the NBA. And they played right here in Portland, Oregon, inside the Moda Center. And tonight it's our NBA Saturday primetime game on ABC, presented by La Quinta. The Cavs and the Bulls at 8:30 Eastern Time. Coverage starts with NBA Countdown, presented by Straight Talk Wireless at 8 Eastern. Cavs and Bulls.
Yep, Bulls still mathematically in the playoff hunt. Tyronn Lue, the Cavs coach, said everybody's on board tonight except Mo Williams. He'll sit out, but full complement of Cavs trying to knock their rivals in that division out of a playoff berth.
Martynas Varnas, the 19-year-old from Lithuania, at the free throw line for the world team.
Yeah, this young man was part of Lithuania's under-18 FIBA European Championships a year ago, was all tournament, now playing in the second division in Lithuania. They love their basketball in that country of 3 million people.
Coach Rana said he is the best shooter on the world team, and there's Josh Jackson with a nice catch and shoot. Fran, when he improves that part of his game, Josh Jackson,
I think
you're looking at an NBA All-Star potentially already. He'll seal the deal with that jump shot.
He's got a little bit of Andrew Wiggins in him to me, but I think at the same stage, the motor,
incredible.
Andrew's motor has definitely come on. There's no question.
Well, I'll tell you, from the high school ranks, better motor than Wiggins. Maybe not the athlete that Wiggins is, and a much, much better passer than Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
And they both finish so well in the paint.
How about on the defensive side for the United States? They've done a good job minimizing the impact from DeAndre Ayton. He airballed that last one, and Fultz gets back iron. A fight for the offensive rebound.
How about how Fultz just finds the open pocket of space and pulls up? Just doesn't force the action.
Right.
And that's what makes him such a great scoring guard.
Azubike on the feed from McDowell White, the Australian guard. Wanted that one a little bit lower.
I saw McDowell White at the Basketball Without Borders camp at the NBA All-Star game in Toronto, and we can't be talking about NBA right now with guys like him, but I really like his savvy and his size for a point guard, and it makes perfect sense, Paul. If I were him, I would pick a school that's into the development of players, because if he improves that jump shot, he's got a chance to be a really good high major college point guard.
I agree, Fran. He's a decision maker versus a risk taker on the floor, but that stroke needs work. But, I love his expression. He's got that poker face the whole time. You don't know what he's thinking about. Nothing really phases him. He doesn't get too emotional during the game, but he plays with good emotion.
Yeah, I agree. I like his toughness, and Aussies, by and large, are tough competitors.
And pretty good shooters.
Yeah.
McDowell White, his dad Darryl, an Australian rules football legend, made visits to Arizona State, Fresno State, and Texas A&M. 20 seconds left here before halftime. It's out of bounds. Last touch by Josh Jackson for the U.S. team.
Yeah, you don't want Josh Jackson in your grill with the basketball 30 feet from the basket. That's why Arizona, Kansas, and Michigan State are just waiting for his answer, which should come this week sometime.
Yeah, and their fans more importantly, waiting with bated breath.
Well, a lot of coaches are, Paul, and we look ahead to later next week, the ESPN Recruiting Nation Special, when the spring signing period begins on the 13th. Our Jordan Brand Classic comes to you next Friday from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. We'll see some of these same players there with LaFonso Ellis as well. And then after that,
you guys got a great
going.
gig, man. This is unbelievable, Paul. Basketball in the springtime, you guys got it made.
Why don't you come? You can help me evaluate the players. I mean, you got all the numbers now.
I'll be moving guys up and down. We'll agree to disagree, or agree more than not.
And Paul, Cal Supreme on that EYBL opening round game features DeAndre Ayton, who's playing for the world team here this afternoon.
Yes, and the PSA Cardinals, Mohamed Bamba.
Oh, boy.
Fran, I know you've heard about a lot of guys and seen a lot of guys, but this guy in the junior class, Bamba, I'm telling you, best athlete I've seen in a long time. Extraordinary length and athleticism.
Is that what we need now that the Mamba is retiring? Somebody to have the Bamba behind him?
I'm telling you what, I'm
That
excited
fell
to
flat,
see him and DeAndre Ayton. I didn't like that.
Bamba was supposed to visit Harvard a couple weeks ago. I think Duke's in the, obviously everybody's in the picture. I love it when someone says he's been like the best player in the class. He's been offered by these teams. Like, yeah, no fooling. Everybody's offering a guy like this. Little flex action here by world team. Trying to run a little set offense, not working.
Tough place for Froling to catch it. Too
Now
low.
6 seconds. Fultz drops it off. Jackson fouled on his way up by Varnas. Personal foul number 2 on the Lithuanian guard.
I love the body on this guy because Frank Jackson, he's explosive, yet he's strong. He's tight with his handle. He plays with his head up, his eyes up.
Well, think about the scoring next year at Duke with Grayson Allen coming back, Kennard, Jackson. Obviously, the toughness up front with Emile Jefferson returning, Harry Giles.
Matt Jones.
Yeah, Matt Jones has become a solid all-around player, good defender.
And Chase Jeter still there, who did not see a lot of time, struggled in his development as a freshman.
When you add up the points coming back, they have 62 points. Duke coming back next year with the nation's number 2 recruiting class.
You go back to 2009, Duke has signed 26 ESPN 100 players. Only one school has more. That's Kentucky. 2009, Coach Cal's first class. So Coach Cal and Coach K, 1 and 2 over the last 7 years, nabbing those top ESPN 100 players. USA Junior National Select Team had quite a first half. Terrence Ferguson shot it pretty well from 3. 6 3-pointers, ties the record for this game. He's still got 20 minutes to go. After the break, we'll head to studio, get a recap of Monday's national championship, and a look ahead to next season. It's the USA Junior National Select Team doubling up the World Select squad here at the Nike Hoop Summit in Portland, Oregon. Cypress Lakes High School outside of Houston.
Went for 43 different times.
I'm telling you, when you look at Kentucky's class, they had a great one. 211 with Davis, Kid Gilchrist, Teague, and Wiltshire. 215 they had Karl Anthony Towns, Trey Lyles, Booker, and Euless. This is in that mix. It may not be as good as those two, but it's right there.
Well, how about if they add Marquise Bolden?
Well, then it has to bump one of those classes up.
Track record's pretty good because the other times that they nabbed 3 players inside the top 10 of the ESPN 100, they wanted to play in the title game.
And that was, Davis, Kid Gilchrist, and Teague.
DeAndre Ayton with just 2 points in that first half. Number 1 junior in the country. Out of the Bahamas, following in the footsteps of Buddy Hield and Tum Tum Nairn.
Now, we haven't had a chance to see him and what he can do, but as a 7-footer, I've seen him make the jump shot, the 3-point shot. He's got beautiful post game. He's got natural instincts, Fran, when his back to the basket. And he really hasn't been coached yet.
Ferguson missed on the chance from 3. Gabriel through contact. Allen poked on the way up. And it's going the other way.
Terrence Ferguson's lucky he didn't make that 3. I would have really gone nuts.
6 of 9 from 3-point range in the first 20 minutes. Feliz running the point for the world team, fouled by Fox. Feliz, the 18-year-old from the Dominican Republic, was AAU teammates with fellow USF signee Troy Baxter, number 90 in the ESPN 100, just the second ESPN-ranked player since 2007 to sign with South Florida.
They got a terrific freshman by the name of Jamal McMurray.
Big time.
Young man that played at Sunrise Christian, the same school that produced Tum Tum Nair and Buddy Hield out in Wichita.
Associate head coach Sergio Rocco went in there and tied that deal up. Orlando Antigua is getting that program turned around. It's a tough job in the American Fran, as you know.
It's a tough league.
It's a tough league, and,
Yep.
and the top is way up there with Connecticut, SMU,
Yep.
Cincinnati.
Houston on the rise with Kelvin Sampson and that beautiful new practice facility they have. They were showing it off during the Final Four.
I like the direction
Temple.
that South Florida is going in.
Yeah.
No, under Antigua, no question.
First 2 years, 17 and 48 for
There he is.
Antigua. And there is a new Hoop Summit record with a dab on it to finish for Terrence
I'm
Ferguson.
going to keep it down this half, okay? I'm not going to get too excited after that first half.
7 made threes for Terrence Ferguson. Feliz steps through. Cordonier tries to answer and just leaves it short. Tatum behind the back for Ferguson. Stepped out of bounds.
What a lot of people don't realize is some of these top high school players now may not be the type of NBA players that people expect. But when you talk about Terrence Ferguson, he's got two things teams love: the length and the ability to shoot the ball, and that hustle right there with the defense.
Tatum runs away with it.
You know, Tatum, on the other hand, who's a tremendous player, top 3 in his class, top obviously number 2. To me, NBA guys want to see him make that long-range jump shot if he's going to be a small forward.
Yeah, and he's been working on it, and he's much better at it. His game right now, if he needs a bucket, is inside the arc. Tremendous in the mid-range. Just like that.
Yeah.
A little short on that one, but he's had over 7 games of 40-plus points this year in the state championship.
Allen had his shot altered from 15 feet by Froling.
I'm just enjoying the effort by the USA team.
You know, Paul, it's changed dramatically in a decade, hasn't it?
It really has. This is the most length I've seen in wingspan on a U.S. team in a while.
Well, remember, it used to be, Mike, not cool to play for Team USA. And Mike Krzyzewski and Jerry Colangelo, they started with the senior men's national team. Now, at the junior level where we dominate worldwide, you see hustle plays like that. The defense, Paul, the togetherness. And, you know, right now, there's been a renaissance of USA basketball that's been incredible.
And this class of 216, Fran, is the best class that we've had collectively, and certainly at the top. I would say since 2008 when you had Rose and those players. Derrick Rose came out.
I think Kevin Love was back on some of those teams. I remember seeing him.
See, this Jason Tatum.
Yep.
You put him in the short corner, tough shot. He can shoot it off the catch, and he's terrific off a rhythm, dribble, pull-up. He knows how to create just enough space, and at 6'8", he's got great vision to the rim.
Nice.
Cordonier was trying for a poster finish.
That's what he does.
Hey, and that's what Josh Jackson does.
Yeah.
He rejects it at the rim. Wow!
Watch this now. This is what Cordonier loves to do. Tries to dunk it on Jackson, but we talked about Jackson's intensity and defensive ability.
His competitiveness. He's not afraid. He goes up strong. That was clean.
Cordonier draft eligible. Is he a draft and stash type of guy?
Yeah, you know, some mock drafts have him in the first round. I talked to some teams that have him in the second round. It'll be really interesting because this has been an eye-opener for him today. He is, minus that last play where we saw that burst, that quick first step in the athleticism, he's been pretty quiet today. I think he's a prospect definitely down the road.
Ximing Fan, the big man from China, got caught up trying to set the ball screen there for Wesley Moji Silva, the 19-year-old guard from Brazil. Fan has seen limited time playing for the junior program for the Foshan Long Lions in China.
You know, in the past, Fran, the world team has been bigger at times and maybe more physical. This USA team, they're awfully big, they're awfully long.
And really quick.
And they're really talented. You look at these guys on the floor, most of these guys are very skilled, whether they're post or guards. I mean, you're looking at right now on the floor, everybody here on the floor is going to be on an NBA roster. Some of these guys will be lottery picks.
Remember, Paul, some of these guys may not translate quite as well to the NBA as they will in college.
No question, but they'll be on an NBA roster. I would find that hard not to happen.
We've seen so many of these guys come in highly ranked and don't improve. But when you run hard like this, good things happen. And Jason Tatum, one thing you love about him, from the very beginning of this game, he's giving you incredible energy.
How about the soft, accurate pass by Josh Jackson? So underrated as a passer. Great defender, terrific slasher and finisher. And Tatum, as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Fran, he's not afraid to get hit on the way up.
Nope.
And see that 4 for 8 field goal? One of the most efficient players in the class.
Tatum good on the first, the 3-time Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Missouri. How about that? He had it presented to him by Penny Hardaway, following in the footsteps of Brad Beal, who won that award back in 2011. Same alma mater, Chaminade College Prep in St. Louis.
He won the state championship this year for Chaminade. Beal won it in 2009. And in the last 50 years, Chaminade's only had 2 state championships. Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
The reasons why.
Pretty good.
Martinez Varnas out of Lithuania, 10 in the black, running the point for the World Select team. Has
great
struggled with guard play all day. On the breakaway, Tatum has been out in front every single time down the floor.
And I'll tell you, great defense on the ball that time by Jason Tatum. He locked up Varnas, couldn't get by him.
He's got to learn how to play off the ball on the offensive end. He's got to learn how to guard. But that possession, Jason Tatum was low and moving his feet.
We got a timeout by the World Select team. They've yet to score here in the third quarter. The USA Junior National Select team trying to pick up its second win in 3 years over the World Select team here at the Nike Hoop Summit. 19th year that this event has been held. 6:12 to play here in the third quarter under international rules, so a 4-quarter game. Mike Cousins along with Paul Biancardi and Fran Fraschilla. And looking ahead, we've got our ESPN Recruiting Nation special as the spring signing period opens up. That's Wednesday, 6:30 Eastern on ESPNU. And then Friday and Saturday, a big weekend of basketball in Brooklyn. Friday night at the Barclays Center, the Jordan Brand Classic. And then the Nike EYBL opening round is going to be in Brooklyn for the first time as well. Saturday, 2 Eastern on ESPNU. A high-powered matchup there with Cal Supreme featuring DeAndre Ayton, the #1 junior in the country, against the PSA Cardinals. Well, they're not from California, a much more locally comprised squad there on the East Coast.
Wait till you see Mohamed Bamba, 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan. Outstanding for PSA Cardinals.
Will McDowell White, #6 there in the black ball, I know is a guy who has impressed you over the course of practices this week.
He really has. Not a great shooter, but his shot's not broke. I love his ability to make a decision in a split moment. Still looking to visit Michigan State and Indiana. He's already visited Arizona State, Texas A&M, and Fresno State. Told me he's definitely coming to the U.S. to play basketball.
Zeming Fan at the stripe. The 17-year-old big man unable to get the first points of quarter number 3 for the World Select squad. Floater in the lane, it's De'Aaron Fox, who's signed to play at Kentucky next year.
Just great guard instincts. A lot of guys always want to go to the rim. Fox understands the little floater pull up in space. What a soft touch. What a trap. by Team USA. They're really working hard in the defensive end. Up big, but not playing the score, playing the game.
Drive and kick with 3 on the shot clock. McDowell White off the front iron. Jackson runs it down with great body control.
Well, nobody back for the world team. You see White with that jump shot. It's still not clean, and somebody has to help him with the basketball.
17-footer from Font. And Ayton drops it in. DeAndre Ayton now has 4 points. Leading scorer for the World Select team is Moji Silva with just 5.
When you get DeAndre Ayton close to the basket, you might as well count it. Long, athletic, super skilled big man.
Oh, what a finish soaring in for Marquise Bolden.
And I'll tell you what, that big fella right there, 15 in the white, has a big decision coming up between Duke and Kentucky. Terrific at the McDonald's practices and the scrimmage, scoring inside with either hand to the basket.
At the whistle, it's the USA squad up 60-24.
And they've been doing it with defense. This time it's defense. You see Jackson running the floor. An easy 2 for Josh Jackson.
It's been a beautiful week here in Portland, Oregon. The USA team leads 60-24. I'm joined now by Executive Director, CEO of USA Basketball, Mr. Jim Tooley. And Jim, you got 4 kids on your roster here today that have been part of this junior national program for a number of years. They got 3 gold medals. Assess where you are this summer with the teams and where they're heading.
Well, we have a great run going. We're the #1 team in the world at every level of FIBA. This year we have U18s in Valdivia, Chile, and then we have the U17 Worlds in Zaragoza, Spain.
How proud of you are you of guys like Harry Giles and Tatum and Ferguson, Jackson? They've been a part of those 3 gold medals worldwide.
They, between the 4 of them, they have 12 gold medals before they've ever stepped on a college campus. We're very excited that they've been part of our program for so long, and the future's bright for them as well.
Big summer for the senior men's national team, the Olympics in Rio. Just take us through starting July 1, that month leading up to the games and what they're going to be trying to accomplish with Coach K.
Correct. We get together mid-July. We'll have training camp in Vegas as we normally have done, and then we'll do 4 other exhibition games in the United States that we'll announce here in the next couple weeks. Our women's national team is also preparing for the Olympics, going for their 6th gold medal in a row, and we'll be doing 4 games for the women here in the United States as well before heading down to Rio.
That's great, Jim. Thanks very much for being with us, and enjoy this action. USA is playing really well.
Thank you, Fran.
That's Jim Tooley, the CEO and Executive Director of USA Basketball. 6 gold medals in a row. It's what they're looking for on the women's side. That's quite an impressive run. And there you see L.J. Goolsby, who's the head coach of the USA Junior National Select Team. This is, Paul, as you talked about, not just an all-star game, but also a game where players get excellent instruction from very good coaches from around the country.
Yeah, and I just was thinking about that when Jim Tooley was talking about it. The coaches, Don Showalters of the world, L.J. Goolsby, and Eric Flannery, who's coaching today, and Mike Jones at DeMatha Catholic. Our own Corey Alexander, who was a great player in college, played in the NBA, and coaches on the summer circuit. These kids are getting world-class instruction, and I think that's the biggest difference. Their talent is great, but they're also being told what to do, how to do it, and they're being taught the game.
And another guy who's been involved from the high school ranks as well, Sharman White from Miller Grove High School down in Georgia, who's, I want to say the number is 7 state titles now.
7 state titles and almost a Dick's Nationals championship last week in New York City. Coach White does an outstanding job at Miller Grove.
Marquise Bolden, the senior big man out of DeSoto High School in Texas, probably down to just Kentucky and Duke for him. And as of today, were he to commit to Duke, the Blue Devils would be over their scholarship allotment. But that's the type of player where the coaching staff just has to figure it out to bring a player like him.
You make cap room for him, right, Fran?
Easy there. I love his potential. I really do. He reminds me of a younger, slimmer, Jahlil Okafor with the body. Moves really well, light on his feet.
He can use either hand right at the rim. I love his left hand inside. People that watch him for the first time, have asked me, is he left-handed? Because he finishes so easily at the rim with his left hand.
Well, I mentioned earlier he played in a great high school program at DeSoto in Dallas. Well coached there. Little zone.
Frank Jackson on the edge, 7 on the shot clock for the United States. And the ball stolen by Silva. He goes one-on-one with Jackson and delivers with a soft touch off the rim.
Moji, I love that nickname.
Fultz gets an open look. Shore for the future Washington Husky.
When you're up big, it's easy to shoot that three ball in transition, but Fultz has that type of talent. He'll bring it to Washington. And I think, as you mentioned, Fran, he'll be one of the stars in the Pac-12 next year. I love the kid Lonzo Ball, who's heading to UCLA.
How about that? How about him?
I just think he's going to be a big difference maker next year.
I was with Jim Harrick at the Final Four, former UCLA coach, national champs in '95, and he said Lonzo Ball's got a chance to be one of the best point guards to ever play at UCLA in a Bruin uniform. And can't wait to watch him. Kind of a Jason Kidd type passer, right? Great playmaker. Got brothers coming up the line all over the place.
LiAngelo and LaMelo.
Yeah.
One was a freshman this year. The other a junior, also committed to UCLA. Chino Hills finished #1 in the USA Today Super 25, undefeated, California State champions. Perhaps the most, if you didn't know what they were doing, you would say out of control style of basketball. But they know what they're doing.
I know it.
And you know what they do? They win.
Yep.
Undefeated. They beat a very strong and powerful Mount Ver team this year, the City of Palms, by 1 point. That style of play worked for that team, and you got to give Lonzo Ball a lot of credit for leading that team.
One of the reasons Markelle Fultz is going to fit so well at Washington is because they've just lost DeJounte Murray and Andrew Andrews, so he's going to have to play and score and deliver right away like that.
A lob
like
for
that.
Jonathan Isaac.
Yep.
How about the backcourt next year, or the wings at Florida State? Bacon and Isaac.
Yeah, Dwayne Bacon had a change of heart, declared for the draft, and then said, well, I think I'll stay.
Smart move. I've got a chance to watch him in the NIT. He's a terrific all-around player, but has to still improve some things, the jump shot.
In Florida State's class, Trent Forrest, a terrific small forward point guard type, and C.J. Walker, a point guard out of Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Another top 10 class for Leonard Hamilton, but Isaac, his best years are way down the road.
#9 class this year after the #11 class a year ago for Leonard Hamilton. Martinez Varnes runs the floor for the World Squad. And Isaac found on his way to the rim.
Thank you.
Yeah, good pass. Watch Foles put this right on the money for Isaac. Young man that from the Bronx, New York, moved to Florida, went to high school. That's easy to play with guys like that. You and I could make, no offense, Markelle, I could make that pass.
Yeah, but I couldn't make that dunk.
I couldn't get back up the court and defend anybody.
This guy right here, Jonathan Isaac, he'll be good at Florida State. And because of his upside, Fran, and his athleticism and intrigue by the NBA scouts this week, I could see him potentially being a guy who will go in the NBA draft after first year.
Yeah.
But his best basketball is 3 to 4 years down the road when he starts to fill out that frame and understand how to use his body.
Well, if you're not a lottery pick, you can go to school on guys like Buddy Hield, Denzel Valentine, because how much they improved over 4 years. I mean, those guys are making a lot of money because they stayed.
Here's Peyton Pritchard, #4 in the white, the native Oregonian out of West Lynn, Oregon. Just the 7th player from the state of Oregon to play here in the Nike Hoop Summit.
He's such a great story because 2 years ago when we were watching the USA team scrimmage against a bunch of local former college and high school stars, this guy was out there. Remember we were trying to figure out, Paul, well, who is he?
Yeah.
And he was only a sophomore at West Lynn. And scrimmage last year, made the team this year, probably a top 60, 70 recruit in the country. I just want to make sure I got the number. I want to make sure I got the number right.
It's 52, but
okay, there you
you're
go.
close, okay? I'll tell you what, this kid is as tough as they come.
Yep.
Saw him on the Adidas circuit, and just a terrific, can play on the ball, play off the ball. He's got beautiful stroke. Not afraid when he gets into the paint, and he's always looking to make the extra pass to the open man. He brings it every night, friend.
Yeah, he was flying by some good defenders at practice this week, like De'Aaron Fox and
he
Josh
made some
Jackson.
great passes.
He
this
sure
week,
did.
too.
Really smart player, had originally committed to play at Oklahoma, is now signed to Oregon in a class that includes a small forward, Keith Smith, out of Rainier Beach High School in Seattle, and MJ Cage, who's got NBA lineage at a modern-day high school in California. Wenyen Gabriel.
Yeah, nice touch pass by Isaac. I think Oregon, I've got them #3 in the preseason. If everybody comes back, if Dorsey comes back, Brooks, I think, is coming back. You've got Boucher and Bell, Casey Benson. I love that team next year.
And I think UCLA is going to be much improved because of their recruiting class and Lonzo Ball. Pac-12 is going to be strong. Arizona is going to be good again.
Pritchard nabs it up ahead
nice
for
finish.
Michigan State-bound Josh Langford out of Huntsville, Alabama.
A strong shooting guard, just the way Tom Izzo, who just got named to the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Congratulations to Coach Izzo.
Going in September 9th.
He was in there a long time ago. He's just going in on the 9th, that's all. But Langford, a terrific shooting guard who can score off the bounce with the open shot, and he could be a great defender with that body.
One of my pet peeves, I got to tell you, as much as Tom, look at that. As much as Tom deserves to get into the Hall of Fame, there's no question. I wish they wouldn't put current coaches in the Hall of Fame until they're retired.
Here's Varnes inside 15 seconds left of the quarter, and it's Fon going to the stripe. Why do you feel that way about the Hall?
Well, suppose you're a coach that you won a lot of games and then it turns out that you've broken a lot of rules, right? But you're still coaching, right? And you're already in the Hall of Fame. So what are they going to do, take the Hall of Fame back from you?
Sure.
Wait till a guy's career is over, size it up like they do in every other sport, players included. To me, look, Tom Izzo is a Hall of Fame coach given the criteria, and he does it the right way. But, you know, if you get into the Hall of Fame and you've been on NCAA probation, maybe it's happened a couple times, I think that's wrong, and I think it sends a wrong message.
But then it'll be like baseball, where even a guy like Cal Ripken can't get 100% of the vote going into the Hall of Fame.
He doesn't have to get 100%.
He got 98.
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple other names, even though you don't want the active coaches in. But how
Yeah.
about Bill Self,
Oh, they're going.
Bob Huggins?
Absolutely.
Two guys in my mind that
Oh, they're
in that
locks.
direction.
Absolutely. Lock City.
3 quarters in the books. The USA Junior National Select Team, an impressive showing this afternoon here in Portland, Oregon, trying to make it 2 victories in the last 3 years at the Nike Hoop Summit. No chance going up against Josh Jackson or Jason Tatum. 10 minutes to play. It's time for today's game track, brought to you by Gatorade. Terrence Ferguson has been the star so far for the USA Junior National Select Team. 7 3-pointers. That's a new Nike Hoop Summit record. And the United States capitalizing on at the half. It was 20 turnovers by the World Squad. On front 73-38 here as we go to the 4th quarter.
And as we get started, Mike, I want to just send our best to Hall of Famer George Raveling. A little bit under the weather, undergoing tests this week. Villanova grad and a guy that's a huge part of this game. Nike's global manager. He knows as many people around the world as anybody. And I know he always loves being a part of this game. I know George is watching, so I know we want to send our best to him, Paul.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the legends, really
Yeah.
a class man.
Longtime college coach, Iowa, USC.
Oh, man, his history, he goes back to first black player to ever play at Villanova.
He's got that letter from Martin Luther King still.
Got the I Have a Dream speech.
And a Washington State original head coach, I believe.
He was the first African-American coach in the old Pac-8. He ought to write a book. I keep
He
telling
did. He
him.
wrote one about rebounding.
Yeah,
Remember? War on the glass,
boards, yeah.
war on the boards. But I'm so used to seeing Coach Raveling sitting right next to us, Fran.
Exactly.
So we wish him the best and get healthy fast, Coach.
It's back-to-back threes for McDowell White and Isaiah Cordinier, checking in from Australia and France, respectively.
And speaking of respectively, right now, World Team wants to just get respectable. Cut into this lead a little bit.
Peyton Pritchard from
Boom!
three.
Yep.
And the native of the Beaver State is on the board.
And the former Wake Oswego High ball boy. It was a player back then by the name of Kevin Love. It wasn't too bad.
Following in the footsteps of Love and Singler, Terrence Jones, Kyle Wilcher, Oregon natives to play here in the Hoop Summit.
Mike Dunleavy Jr., the Chicago Bulls, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the first one back in '99.
Pritchard, the #1 player in the state of Oregon. That original commit to Oklahoma. Duck fans are happy now, Fran.
You know, he committed as a junior, and it's an interesting story. You guys know this. His father, Terry, was a football player, played for Barry Switzer, mama gymnast. Look at this. Fast PP3 if you're going to tweet him.
Peyton Pritchard is a gym rat. See that move, that little step back jump shot quick? He's been worked on thousands of hours in the gym.
You know, he committed as a junior, and I think in part because mom and dad are from Oklahoma. Take a look.
There's that step back, friend.
Yep.
It's quick, it's low, it's fast,
Little Archie Diacono right there.
and it's accurate.
You know, he does remind me of a guy that recruited him Oklahoma. The new coach at Texas San Antonio, Steve Henson, who was a terrific player at Kansas State.
Andres Feliz, the 18-year-old out of the Dominican Republic, who's signed to South Florida next year.
I like the speed that he brings to South Florida next year.
Going for three. Well, up 79-46. U.S. doesn't mind a few three-pointers from
Yeah.
Peyton Pritchard.
He's trying to catch up to Ferguson.
He's got 7.
Let's see if they can get DeAndre Ayton a touch here. He's the best player on their team.
And Ayton has been pretty quiet, just 4 points for him in about 22 minutes.
When he catches it in the low post, he locates the defense, he can make a move. He's got beautiful touch around the basket, and he can make a face-up jump shot. That's why he's the #1 player in the junior class. Rebounds and block shots at a good pace. Needs to run harder,
Well,
more often, and play with a little bit better motor.
yeah, and to your point, you know, he's not having a night today. He doesn't have the teammates maybe, but
Correct.
doesn't mean you can't go nuts on the glass and run hard and do those things. For a lot of these guys, Mike, it's the first time NBA scouts are really getting a chance to watch them play. They know the names, they hear about them, they read about them, but sometimes this is the first line on the resume. You see just what we're talking about right there. There's the Denver Nuggets crew right there. Former great Seton Hall player on the right, Arturas Karnisovas.
Yes, played for P.J. Carlesimo.
He did. Yeah.
Remember, we played against him when I was coaching at Boston College. He was only a 6'9" wing player back then.
Exactly. Yep. He's a terrific player in the European leagues.
This is a change of pace event for the NBA scouts as well. They've been watching the college players all year. Now they get to see some fresh blood, and over the course of this week, nearly 150 general managers and scouts credentialed to watch players. Markelle Fultz from the corner.
Paul and I have seen these guys so much, and the lead is such that we're not going to see everything from everybody today. It's not going to change my opinion of some of these guys, but it's certainly a great first look for the NBA teams.
So Fultz hits the 3 and then takes the charge as well.
Well, they got a good look at the McDonald's game, Fran.
Yeah.
They were there for practices and the
Exactly.
scrimmage in the game. They get to see, 24 of the best go head-to-head. Here they get to see them in a couple of days of practice playing against another team.
Yeah, and normally, Paul, as you know, the international team is a deeper team with more NBA prospects.
Look at Ben Simmons last year. Was a assist and a rebound away from a triple-double.
Yeah, Simmons on the team last year. 2 years ago, it was pretty stacked. Emmanuel Mudiay, Trey Lyles, Karl Towns,
How about that?
Clint Capella. 3 years back, Wiggins, Exum, Embiid.
Yeah, Clint Capella was really quiet here. We saw the athleticism, and he's become a very useful player for the Houston Rockets.
And the guy, Fred, that you really liked is in the NBA is Dennis
Schroeder.
Yeah, I know you love to say that.
I love saying
I
that.
know you do. That's why I set you up.
Yeah, very
Paul,
good.
it sounds like you were just trying to avoid saying. Josh Langford at the free throw line. First McDonald's All-American out of Alabama since DeMarcus Cousins.
Tell you what, great pass ahead by McDowell White, but even a greater effort. Was that Fultz?
Yeah,
Jackson.
Frank Jackson. Watch this. Oh, is that Fultz?
That's Fultz.
Fultz, yeah.
He's got some ups. He's got ups. He's got game. He's battle tested. He's consistent. Mike Jones did a great job with his development into Matthew Catholic.
Al
have
Jackson.
another one there,
Once he figured out that he could play varsity as a junior, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, he wasn't ready as a sophomore, so they kept
yes.
him on the JV.
And like I mentioned earlier, when I talked to Markelle yesterday about it, he said, I was mad, but my mom said everything happens for a reason. And you know what? It probably gave him the fuel to go into that junior year where you said he was so outstanding.
Yeah, he became the player of the year in the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference. They have a junior who's very good, rising senior, DJ Harvey. Next year at DeMatha, top 20 player in the country.
In case you're curious, it's going to be a very busy year for international guys in the first round. It could be as many as 7 or 8 going early.
What does that mean for United States players with college players? Almost, well, actually literally everyone can test the waters now.
That's right.
And so with their deadline to pull out of the draft coming in May 25th, how does that change things with the international date being later?
It does. You know, the college guys have much more time to evaluate their prospects of playing in the league, but the international guys have up until 10 days before the NBA draft. They have a little bit more time to assess with their agents where they stand among NBA teams.
The draft timeline for players now, you've got the Chicago Combine, which is going to expand its invitation list a little bit. That's from May 10th to the 15th. And then the draft on June 23rd in Brooklyn on ESPN.
We've talked a lot about the draft. Think about this if you do the math. 60 spots. Fran, you mentioned 7 international kids.
Well, and I think about 14 overall could get drafted.
Okay, overall.
60, yeah.
And then you have about 15 freshmen that are locks for this draft. Right there, we're at 30. We didn't even mention the seniors. Valentine, Dunn, Buddy Hield, possibly Bryce Johnson, I think. Where does that leave the underclassmen who are testing the waters? You better be careful.
You better get
those waters are deep.
Yep, get good information from your advisors, your coach, and the NBA people who evaluate you and then tell you where they think you stand.
When I talk to the scouts, as we all do, they said, you know what, you're going to come out and we're going to evaluate you and analyze you. You better be prepared because we're going to pick you apart. We're going to pick apart your game. And then they'll get a preconceived notion for future draft. So don't come out just to say you're coming out.
And it's 2 different sports. That's what people have to understand. If you don't have length, speed, athleticism, and on the perimeter, the ability to shoot the ball, doesn't necessarily translate from high school stardom to college stardom to NBA stardom. We've seen that many times before.
And there's a story, you go back to February, where Jonathan Isaac had his name get caught up in some draft waters and whether he'd be eligible because this was his 5th year of high school. He turns 19 in October. He said after that, which he wanted no part of, he didn't want to go into the draft, he shut it down, and it's very important who you listen to. He said, I'm keeping it in-house with Dennis Gates, Charlton Young, and Leonard Hamilton, his college coach.
And he said, I got some bad advice. And that's where people have to be careful. You have to keep that circle small, Fran, and you have to have a circle of people that have competency in what you're trying to accomplish. You know, Morgan Wooten told me last week at the McDonald's game over the phone, outside influences, what is their agenda and why are they doing it? And I think he just hit it straight on. We're talking about the recruiting process and how the high school coaches should handle it. He's very leery of people coming from the outside in.
An impressive afternoon from Peyton Pritchard, his 3rd three-pointer.
Well, we've got a chance to see everybody on Team USA today because of the blowout. And Peyton Pritchard has certainly earned his spot on this team after 2 years.
Here's Froling.
He can make that.
He's verbally committed to SMU. We'll have a chance to sign his letter of intent coming up next week, and scores on the reverse layup. He had both sisters, Alicia and Keely, were playing at SMU for the women's team last year.
Oh, hey, let me challenge Terrence Ferguson to a three-point shooting contest.
Only 52 in the country? Move him up.
Oh, Fran.
Come on, move him up. Only
Fran, you
52.
sound like a fan.
Paul, you've got one more chance coming up.
I know I do.
Final
April
ranking.
26th.
I think Ferguson will be a little bit higher than 13, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Did you move Karl Towns up from 9 to?
He ended at 9, but he finished at 1 in the draft.
Okay, yeah.
2.5 weeks
I'm
left.
paying attention, Paul.
Welcome back to Portland, Oregon, and the 19th Nike Hoop Summit, featuring a USA team that is bubbling with talent. 13 ranked players. Our college basketball headlines: ESPN's #1 player in the class of 2015, Ben Simmons, just going to focus on the draft, not going to play for Australia. Buddy Hield from Oklahoma, the winner of the John R. Wooden Award for the Men's College Player of the Year. And Georgia Tech Athletic Director Mike Babinski will have a new statue for him in Memphis after he hired away Josh Pastner. Fan base was riled up there. And Fran, looking ahead to the top 5, who you got for 2016-17?
Well, there's my group, and maybe a little surprise to some. Oregon #3. I think obviously Kentucky's going to be really good. Kansas has that great backcourt back. They may get Josh Jackson, who knows? And you go with Azubuike, Carlton Bragg will be back, Landon Lucas. Interesting about Ben Simmons, guys, just so people put it in perspective, that's a veteran Aussie team. I'm not sure how much he would have played this year on that team with guys like Bogut and Della Vedova, Patty Mills. And I think he's making a smart move. Aussies are going to go to the Olympic Games with a veteran club, and I like the fact that Ben Simmons will get drafted by a team, and I believe he's going #1. I'll go on record as saying that. And I think it's better that he focuses on his first year in the NBA.
And the NBA scouts just simply think he'll be an NBA All-Star. To a man that I've spoke to.
I haven't heard anybody say definitively that Brandon Ingram is #1.
Correct.
And I'm not saying that Brandon isn't going to be a tremendous pro, but I was watching some tape last night of Ben in my hotel room, and stuff he does is you know.
And we've been watching it since he was a sophomore.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
see it 6'10", outstanding rebounder.
Yeah.
We know the passing, but he can score the ball
I think Paul
better than we've seen this year in college.
He's going to have to answer some questions when he goes and interviews with teams about how this year became a debacle. They're going to have to do detective work, but in terms of talent, to me, he's my #1 pick right now.
Allen on the inside, and he's fouled on his way up. Go back to the coaching changes. We saw Josh Pastner going from Memphis to Georgia Tech. Paul, who do you think has been the biggest coaching change this year? Maybe I should say, who's the biggest hire for a program?
I would have to say, you mean in terms of being successful? I love Brad Underwood going to Oklahoma State. I think he's going to be fantastic. I want to make a comment about Josh Pastner. I mean, there's a lot of things being said, surprised, not surprised. Look, the first 4 years he was the head coach at Memphis, they went to the NCAA tournament. That's what Georgia Tech is seeking, and he did it right behind John Calipari. Hard shoes to fill. I think Josh Pastner hires the right staff. He's going to do a terrific job. And friend, Jamie Dixon is a home run at TCU.
And it's interesting about TCU, Mike, because people will say, well, they haven't had great tradition in recent years, but they've got a tremendous, beautiful new facility. The Big 12 is hot. Texas has players. He's a homegrown guy in terms of being a former TCU great. I think the job has a lot of potential. I really do. It's a lot like SMU.
And he was very consistent, Jamie Dixon at Pittsburgh. And to me, one of the best hires, and Fran, I know you know this as well, that maybe doesn't get a lot of publicity, Mike Dunleavy at Tulane.
Yeah, I agree. He's excited about that opportunity. He's coached in the league. He's got a big name. He's
former NBA Coach of the Year, coaching in the American, now with Larry Brown, Mick Cronin, Kevin Ollie. Big-time league.
I don't think he's going to get the associate head coach at Villanova to leave to be his associate head coach. That would be Baker Dunleavy. I think Baker's got a great job right now. Of course, Mike Jr., we mentioned, played in this game as a native of Portland.
Back in 1999, the first of now 7, along with Peyton Pritchard, who's hit 4 threes already, the native of West Lynn, just about an hour 45 from his college stop in Eugene. Another coach, too, there that made a big jump is Bryce Drew, going from Valpo to Vanderbilt. He was under a 10-year contract at Valpo. Of course, they want to keep him there as long as possible, but understand that his departure was imminent, and that's a well-deserved jump after he's had a ton of success being the top program in the Horizon League the last 5 years.
And I think, Paul, you know, academic schools are in right now. Harvard, what Tommy Amaker's done there. Northwestern, most wins ever in a regular season by Chris Collins. Stanford's a great job. I think Vandy has a chance to be, and Kevin did a great job. I think it's got a chance to still be a really, really good job nationally.
When we talk jobs, Fran, let me ask you, what job were you surprised at that let go of their coach?
That's a good question. Not having the list in front of me, you know.
I was a little surprised about Johnny Dawkins at Stanford.
Yeah.
2 NIT championships and a Sweet 16. You know, if you don't do it lately,
yep.
You know, they want to know who's next.
Watch out.
Pritchard nearly had number 5. And Paul, too, beyond the mid-majors, surprising releases came in the Horizon League. How much more can athletic directors expect? Like for a guy like Billy Donlin.
Billy Donlin.
That was absurd.
That was the worst situation in college basketball. Billy got to the championship game of the Horizon League 3 out of 4 years. He set the record for most wins in league play at 13.
Amazing.
And he doesn't have a job.
You know
but he'll be hired by somebody really good.
Listen, if every AD knew what they were doing, every program would end up 16-16 every year, okay?
Billy Donlin did a great job at Wright State. He really did.
I don't want to mention the AD's name. I know who it is, and that was just not You know, unless you don't know stuff that goes on inside the program. You know, that can happen too. But for all intents and purposes, Billy Donovan's a class guy.
And a winning coach.
Pritchard's lob goes long over the hands of Frank Jackson.
But I like being undefeated with you, Paul.
I don't mind being your associate head coach, Fran.
No, we've been undefeated this year with the microphone.
And no film to watch after the game.
But that's the great thing about Paul and I. We like watching film.
Great jump
Nice
stop.
pass, yep.
Ziming Fan, the rebound. Keeps it alive outside for Silva halfway down.
You know, last time the U.S. beat the world in three-point shooting percentage in this game was 211. Austin Rivers and company. Today, the U.S. team clearly out shooting them from three. This is not a good shooting team by the world. And I'm kind of surprised that, okay, they're not so physical, they're not so talented, but usually they shoot the three ball very well.
You know, that's such a great point, Paul. Do you remember past games where USA couldn't make threes? And
yes, every game.
The knock on USA was really athletic, play wild, and don't make shots.
Right.
That young guy, he's got a chance. He's really raw, but his brother last night.
Against the Celtics,
The Greek freak went for, 29 last night? He was unbelievable. Kostas is the younger brother. He's considering some schools.
Kostas Antetokounmpo,
Kostas, yep.
the 18-year-old from Greece, has offers from Memphis and Iowa State. Has yet to make any visits, though.
Right. Can I say that name? I want to say that. Kostas Antetokounmpo. I love saying that.
We'll record it and just play it back.
The little Greek freak.
I had
How about
to work
that?
on, yeah.
The little Greek freak.
How about the Greek squeak?
Oh, very good.
His brother was sensational last night, though.
Yeah.
He said it against the Celtics.
And the middle brother, Thanasis, in the NBA D-League playoffs with the Westchester Knicks.
You know who's great?
9-1-4.
You know who was great last night watching the highlights? An alum of this game, Evan Fournier, for the Orlando Magic. I think he went for 28, 8, and 8 last night for Scott Skiles. But you make such a great point, Paul. I think the skill level of Team USA, and I think it's happened over the 10 years with guys like Kevin Love and Kevin Durant, Westbrook, LeBron. You know, they've been great role models for these young players coming up the pipeline in high school basketball. And you see, I think the skill level of the elite players, you know, your top 100, right? You know, the guys that you rank in the top 100. I think the skill level is higher than it's ever been.
Yes.
I really do.
And this class has been the best in a long time,
Yeah.
but you know, we don't see Lonzo Ball here.
Right.
You know, we don't see, you know, a lot of guys in the class. Dennis Smith. Let's not forget about Dennis Smith, who's going to be at NC State. A strong, powerful point guard.
And technically, since he reclassified part of the 2015 class, didn't play, although he enrolled this year, we'll try and help the Wolfpack turn things around next year. Minute 35 to go. USA on the way to a W.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the Nike Hoop Summit is brought to you by Nike. Join the free revolution at Nike.com/free.
As one recruiting cycle comes to an end, another begins. We're back here in Portland at the Nike Hoop Summit. Mike Cousins, Fran Fraschilla, and Paul Biancardi. We've got a look at your top 5 impact freshmen going into next year.
Well, a lot of guys are going to impact the college game, but I think Josh Jackson will have the most impact. We don't know where he's going to go yet. Arizona, Kansas, Michigan State, but he is the best two-way player in the class and one of the best competitors. Lonzo Ball is going to make UCLA better right away, and Bam Adebayo on the glass will help John Calipari in the front court. We saw Frank Jackson. They're going to hand them the basketball at Duke. And I think Dennis Smith at NC State.
He's explosive.
Explosive. He's smart. He's highly competitive. And that whole group, Fran, is competitive. Those guys, in my mind, will have the biggest impact next year.
You know, Dennis Smith, and it sounds like, I think he's back now, right? Because he's enrolled at NC State.
He's back on the court,
He's
too.
back on the court, and he has the intensity level as a guard that I think Josh Jackson has as a forward.
There's no question
You know,
about it.
that alpha male junkyard dog, and I enjoyed working with him at the Steph Curry Elite Camp for best guards in the country. Really enjoyed being around him. He is a warrior.
Jared Allen gets into the lane, misses with the right hand, and Antetokounmpo comes down with the rebound. A guy we didn't see on there, Paul, and have just briefly mentioned is Thon Maker, who up until last week said he was going to college. Now he's declaring for the NBA draft, and even his status as a draft-eligible player from Canada is still up in the air.
My interpretation of the rule, Fran, you know best. When you go into high school, that starts your graduating class. I spoke to Carlisle head coach Jason Niblett last night. He entered Carlisle School in the year 12-13. That makes him a freshman. That makes his graduating class 2015-2016. So it's not a year removed. And he was 2 years in the United States in high school, 2 years in Canada. I don't think he'll be looked at as an international prospect.
And then he has to deal with the idea of getting eligible if he wants to go to college, or does he do what Emmanuel Mudiay did, and that is go overseas for a year. Now here's the sad part.
Brandon Jennings, too.
Brandon Jennings did that. The sad part for me is, and both Paul and I have been around Thon Maker. He is a phenomenal kid. I think his motor revs, to the highest degree.
Should have been in this game. He should have played in this game.
And he played last year when he only had the 2 points and 10 rebounds.
Nice lob from Gabriel to Isaac.
He has to develop his overall skills, and the body has to fill out. If he were to be in the NBA draft, there are a lot of teams that don't think he would be in the first round.
Maybe late first, Fran.
Early
second.
Yeah. The proverbial late first, early second, which means D-League, basically.
Draft purgatory.
Yeah. Great kid. I love being around.
Oh, I wish him all the best. I think he's going to be terrific down the road. I would have liked to seen him play here. And you know what the NBA scout said? We love Buddy Hield, we love Valentine, Dunn. We've seen those guys enough. We want to see some new guys.
Right.
Thon Maker with the world team that's not strong this year could have made a good impression.
Jonathan Isaac at the free throw line for the USA Junior National Team, which will collect its second win in 3 years. Lost last year being paced by Luke Kennard, but 2 years ago it was a great combination of Justice Winslow, Jahlil Okafor, Tyus Jones, Cliff Alexander helped lead the way.
Let's see, Okafor, Jones, and Winslow. Those guys, those names sound familiar. That's part of that USA program.
Basketball,
yeah.
Gold medal winners, 3 NBA first-round picks.
The national championship.
Even Cliff Alexander was the only guy in that class who didn't get drafted. But he's here with the Portland Trailblazers on the roster.
The Blazers are at home tonight here at the Moda Center. They'll try and follow up on the success of the USA Junior National Select Team. Count the 3 at the buzzer, and the final is 101-67 with a win over the World Select Team. It started with a hot hand from Terrence Ferguson, a new three-point record with 7 made threes, a new high mark here in the Nike Hoop Summit. 13 ESPN-ranked players collect the win. So for our entire crew here in Portland, my partners, Fran Fraschilla, Paul Biancardi, I'm Mike Cousins, saying thanks so much for watching. Up next, SEC Story. Dominique belongs to us. And so long from Portland, Oregon.